Good evening, everybody, to our latest Facebook Live. And we have with us me, I'm Shaz, I'm a volunteer for East Cornwall and West Devon Group. And
I'm Kathy, IBD nurse at Derriford, one of the many.
I'm Lindsay, another volunteer with Crohn's Colitis, East Cornwall, West Devon.
Cool. And I think we've got a few questions that Danny's got lined up for us. So,
Danny in the corner.
Yeah, good evening, everybody.
She's always off screen.
Yeah, she just hides. She won't
always
join us.
hides.
And the first question tonight is, what changes has Derriford Hospital made regarding Humira since its license was released?
Over to you.
So we had, well, the gastroenterology had we had no say in which preparation we were switching to. Humira itself lost its patent, not its license, 12 months or so ago, and since then it's been very highly competitive.
Was that long ago?
Yeah, it's quite a while for them to actually have put into
Right.
place which drug we're using.
Yeah.
We don't have any say in that. I think it tends to go with cost on the whole, but they're all much much more cost effective than branded Humira. So we've gone with Imraldi. All the research that's been done on these on the generics have shown that there's no difference in the drugs. We would expect that, as in the no difference in the efficacy.
Yeah. What did you say it's called?
Imraldi.
Imraldi.
Yes.
Okay.
So that is the generic Humira adalimumab that we're using. But it was very much, we were kind of just told we're going to be using that.
So people shouldn't see a difference.
No,
It
you shouldn't see a difference.
should be the
There's
same.
a slightly different pen. There might be a slightly different preparation. But so far, I mean, we've switched a lot of people over already, and we've had no problems so far. And we wouldn't expect there to be any. I mean, we switched over infliximab about 4 years ago now, 3 or 4 years ago, maybe even longer, and we had no problems with that.
Did you?
So, on the whole.
Interesting.
Yeah. As in, in fact, infliximab has changed several times.
Right,
Yeah,
okay.
you know, because there's been so many generic infliximabs that have come out.
Right.
So that changes fairly often, and it is all, of course.
So what you're saying is they'd all have the same effect on me.
they don't. Yeah, sorry, Lindsay, it's not a different drug.
Yeah, they're not just picking on you.
It was
Yeah,
worth
yeah.
a try.
Yeah. We're not going to go and try 5 different generics on you. So yes, don't be worried. It would be highly unusual for anything to be, you know, to be that they're very well, you know, they're governed very carefully and
Okay, good.
to jump through lots
So
of hoops.
in lots of ways, it's a good thing because it's a cheaper drug to
Yeah.
get hold of now. So
Absolutely.
it should be more easy to get hold of.
So it's easier to, on the whole, it should in theory be easier to prescribe, although it's still governed by NICE. It's still an expensive drug. So we still
Yeah.
have to, it's still NICE driven. But yes, I mean, it's good if you can save any money really in the NHS as it is, isn't
Oh
it?
God,
You know,
yeah, definitely.
And we, as I say, we've had no problems within our group of people that have had any problems with the switch.
Good, cool,
So
excellent.
we'll now have 50 emails saying, actually,
I wondered what it was.
I'm not happy.
I don't know why, but I've just commented as myself. Sorry, I'm not on as Crohn's and Colitis UK, but it is us.
Oh, we've
Give
got
us
people.
a chat.
Can
If
see
you're watching
Sarah
us,
and
say hi.
Hannah.
Hi,
Hi.
Sarah. Hi, Hannah.
Yeah.
Okay, another question.
I assume everybody can hear us okay.
I think so. I hope
I'm
so.
sure you would have said if you couldn't hear us.
Yeah, let us know if you can't hear us.
Yeah, I should have my glasses on. I can't read your name. Sorry, but hi.
Okay, another question. I keep seeing posts on social media about people with Crohn's or colitis doing all those amazing sporting things, but I often struggle to get out of bed. Will I ever get to a point where I can do half of what they do?
Difficult.
I
isn't
try,
it?
yeah,
We
I
were just
don't know
talking
that-
about this.
yeah.
weren't we?
Yeah.
And how individual it is.
Yeah, I mean, some people will just want to do sporting things, and I think I was saying just now, I never wanted to run a marathon.
No,
I'd be
before
hopeless
you
at
were
running a marathon.
diagnosed.
That's right.
No.
Before I was diagnosed, I never wanted to run a marathon. I'm certainly not going to start now. So but I go walking. So if that's the thing I do. I don't do any other exercise
no.
apart from walking. I walk quite a bit, but I don't do loads of exercise. But I do what I feel I can.
Yeah.
I don't think you should push yourself too hard. I think you should do what you feel comfortable with.
I think it must be very frustrating because I was just saying to Lindsay a minute ago that so many patients that come to our clinic, the fatigue is one of the worst symptoms. And I think that when people go into remission, they expect that to stop, and that's probably one of the most frustrating things, that they don't. So their tests might come back normal, their bloods are normal, and yet they're still saying, I've got this horrendous fatigue.
I am one
and
of
it
them,
is,
as you know.
it must be really hard to
It is.
struggle with
I think
that.
I said to you a minute ago, I find it is the most debilitating part of the disease for me, is I can handle the pain, the sickness, but the fatigue, it mentally drains you as well, because there's so much you want to be doing, just normal daytime stuff, even just doing the housework, something simple, and some days you just can't.
No, and that is, so many people, you know, do sort of say that, and Crohn's and Colitis UK did a big piece of work on this a few years back, didn't they?
I think there's some leaflets actually on the website. If you go to the Crohn's and Colitis UK website, there's whole loads of all sorts of different leaflets. There's definitely one on fatigue. So
it's
worth having a look at.
I think people do. We all, as a human race, compare ourselves to each other, don't we?
Especially when social media.
And yes, exactly. So I think it's such a common thing, and people always, like you say, over push themselves and think, well, that person's climbing Everest. Why can't I do my iron? But you.
I think one of the latest was a gymnast. Like we reposted one from Crohn's and Colitis about a gymnast, and it was just incredible seeing what she did.
Well, those are the ones
but
that do
we weren't going to be a gymnast
London
before.
And I look at them and think,
no.
But
we had to wake her up to go on this.
I was like that before, as you say. I never want, you know, I couldn't run a marathon before. So,
and a lot of people that do those sorts of things are very into that sort of thing anyway before they were diagnosed. So they probably, you know, it's that drive, isn't it? I mean, there are some that go the other way, because one of the guys in London who works for Crohn's and Colitis UK, Tom, he does things, he started doing things because he said, despite having Crohn's, I think it's Crohn's he's got, he said, I'm doing this despite having it. So he started doing things because of it, which is another way of looking at it. And some people are motivated that way, and great if you can do that. Yeah, exactly.
I mean, I was just like, I'll just carry, as long as I can go to work still, that's good.
I think, as I said, I think I was saying to you too, it is frustrating, and I think over time, I don't know about everyone out there, but I find it's not so much, it doesn't go away, but you get used to it. And you sort of learn to, there are days you get up and you think, no, it's just not going to happen today. But then the days you can, you try and do as much as you can, because you know.
And you learn to pace yourself, I guess, don't you? A lot of people say that. Yeah, they know what they can do and what they can't. And, you know, sometimes doing a little bit is better than doing nothing, isn't it? And little steps.
That's it.
Kaylee's just said, my biggest challenge was recovery from exercise. I was exercising competitively with cycling, and my biggest challenge was I couldn't recover after well at all due to not absorbing all the nutrients the others were getting. I would have flared terribly as a result. Now on Humira and starting to be able to do things again to this level. So
that's good.
Yeah, good.
We've had quite a lot of people coming up, haven't we?
So there's another.
Hello to everybody that's just signed on since we've missed. I've got to actually scroll down to see.
Sorry, I can see the ball.
That's good.
I hope it's okay to join. I'm being assessed for IBD. I have chronic tummy issues, and FODMAP has been limited in helping me. If I'm diagnosed, will there be an option to see a dietitian again?
We had a talk. We talked about FODMAP in one of our.
We did, Lucy.
Well, it was with Lucy, which was the one in. Was that December?
Yeah.
No, it was in November, or even earlier than that, September possibly.
I think it was September.
Yeah, I think it might have been September. But certainly one of our earlier
go back
ones,
on our videos,
Facebook Lives. You
can see IBD with Lucy.
Lucy dietitian. We definitely talked about FODMAP because she was saying it's not something that you would expect to be on for months and months. It was something you would be on for, I think it was a matter of weeks. I think it was like 6 to 8 weeks.
Yeah, and then you introduce different foods slowly.
But this was someone who was saying, I think they'd been on it for 3 months or 4 months already, and she was saying, no, you shouldn't. It's a limited length thing that you go on.
Yeah, that's right. And in answer to your question, yes, there's a dietitian on the IBD team. There should always be a dietitian, so you'd always get referred if you wanted to. So yeah, absolutely
go through the IBD team.
Yeah, once you've been diagnosed, it should. I'd like to say it should happen automatically. maybe not. The dietitians, you know, it's difficult. I mean, we've had a lot of problems with keeping good dietitians. Lucy's fantastic, but she's now doing some research work, so she's only part-time. And then Beth, our other lovely dietitian, went. So yeah, and it can be difficult for the I think for trusts to see that the dietitian is as important as they are, so they don't always fund the post particularly well. But you know, we have been lucky, and hopefully we'll continue.
So I've heard good things about Lucy.
Yeah, she's lovely.
That
So
might be something we could help fund.
Could be,
possibly.
maybe.
Yeah,
maybe we should follow that up.
Definitely. Yeah. So yeah, it should be part of the RBD team.
But they have to come. They come through you if they want.
You need to be diagnosed.
Yes.
Yeah, that's right. And then when you get seen by whoever you get seen in clinic, then ask them, and they can point you in her direction.
Okay. Excellent. Hopefully that was helpful.
Yes.
Oh, brilliant. I will take a look. I was on it for 6 months before Christmas.
6 months.
Our fab re-dietitian. I hope funding goes okay.
Ooh.
Okay, another question we've had in. How do you decide what medication to put us on? Is there an order of strength or effectiveness for different drugs?
Oh, that's a minefield. That is a minefield.
I know one thing that last year you got me to take a test because I'm on the captopril.
Yeah.
And you said if you take this test, it will tell us whether it is going to work for you efficiently.
Yeah.
Even though I've been on it for quite a while already, I think it must be a fairly new test. And you came back and you said this drug will work brilliantly for you. It's just the right thing.
Are you sure I actually said that?
Well, possibly not.
It will work.
Look, I'm happy. You know, I've been stable for quite a while now. Don't worry. Don't move it.
Don't worry, we won't.
I bet you wish you gave me that test before we started.
There are so many drugs for IBD. In a nutshell, most people with Crohn's will need to be on an immunosuppressant. For ulcerative colitis, not necessarily so. When we're looking at immunosuppressant drugs, we tend to go for azathioprine and mercaptopurine, which Shaz is on and has been successfully some time.
Although azathioprine was awful.
No,
don't
confuse the matter.
Sorry, I'm just saying if you've got the choice of two there, even haven't you? So you put me on one, that didn't work. You put me on the other one, that was fine. I was very happy.
And then the test you're talking about is to see whether or not your body is whether you've got the right amount of mercaptopurine in your body. It doesn't actually say whether it will work for you. It just says that's you're absorbing it properly.
Right. Yes.
Yeah. And hence, in theory, it should work. So there's those two, and then we've got all the biologics, and there are hundreds of them. Well, lots of them.
There are.
So you've got,
Lindsay's
Humira,
had them all, actually.
vedolizumab.
In case anyone doesn't know, I am one of Kathy's most awkward patients on the planet.
I wouldn't.
If they don't work, I react to them.
Yeah, that's right. Lindsay can tell you about all the drugs. Yes. So there's a lot of biologics, and we tend to go with it. It's difficult how we choose. On the whole, we give patients now a list of the drugs, and it tends to be patient choice, and that really tends to come down to whether they want an infusion or an injection, subcut injection.
Yeah.
Well,
some people just do not want to self-inject at all. The
No.
majority of people do, and other people, people sometimes want to come into hospital for various reasons. They're concerned about giving injections, or they're anxious or something.
That's quite nice. I think the people. I didn't know that before.
No,
I think it's quite nice that people.
Quite nice.
But well, we know that.
I was never given any options.
No, me neither.
Oh no! I knew this.
They've changed. They've got better.
Yeah.
Well, since we decided
Yeah, it was probably me that broke the system.
Yeah.
I think it's because there are in the last 3 years there have just been a huge increase in types of biologic drugs.
Yeah.
So yeah.
So it's nice that the patient gets a bit of a choice in
yes.
what they might
It
get.
is,
So it
yeah.
isn't purely well, we'll put you on this one first. If that doesn't work, we'll put you on this one, and then we'll put you on this one. It doesn't exactly work in that. But presumably there are you do have kind of the bigger guns for later. I mean, you're not going to give someone a very strong drug first thing. You're going to go, well, we'll try you on this first, because if that works, we don't want to.
And nice guidance. Not that I'm not a massive fan of nice guidance, but it does have its place, and we have to be governed by it. Would suggest that we have to try azathioprine and mercaptopurine first before we try any biologic, because they're cheap. And they keep masses of people in remission.
Yeah. Cheap.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
you know, cheap and cheap.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah, that's
guessing
me.
as well that whereabouts, how severe the disease is when you first see a
Absolutely.
patient
Yeah.
plays a
Absolutely.
big part of it.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, if you leave it too late when you go to see these poor people, they've got quite a battle on their hands.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I mean, if you're kind of like, and again, if you're acutely ill in hospital, you've just been diagnosed, which there are a lot of people that present like that, you would always go for a biologic first. You wouldn't be waiting for mercaptopurine to work, which takes about 8 weeks to get into your system.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
We've had a question from Hannah. I find knowing what I should and shouldn't eat so hard. How to gain nutrients that I'm not absorbing without irritating myself. Obviously, each person is different, but any great foods that generally work? I'm really enjoying this. Thank you. Yes, jealous of the wine.
Dry January.
What
I've
wine?
got coffee.
Yeah, Lindsay's got coffee.
She's such a creep.
Yeah. Have you got water, Danny?
I have got
That's
water.
even more.
I know.
More.
sorry.
You told me not to drink it.
She can't have water, does it?
Well, not too much.
No.
You have a glass.
So
Thanks,
I guess
Kathy, you're so generous.
So the stuff that
any
you can,
great foods that generally work.
again,
It's-
worth going back and looking at the
Yeah.
dietitian video, because we definitely talk about food then. But
It's very individual
It
as
is.
well.
There's
Really
no
individual.
diet for IBD, even though you'll
No.
read a lot. That lots of people have tried different things, but you just can't be too generic, really, with a
No.
diet. I mean, it is very individual. It depends
Yeah.
what disease you've got, where it's in your small bowel, whether it's in your large bowel. If you've got an ileostomy, that will very much govern your diet. And the best thing really is to probably have an appointment with a dietitian to go
Yeah.
through what's right for you.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, I did buy a Crohn's diet book when I was first diagnosed. Half the stuff in it I can't eat. So I think
yeah.
everyone, you've got to play it by, it's trial and error.
It is.
Yeah,
Is it
I was-
worth
I was
keeping
gonna
a
say
food diary.
Yeah.
Yes.
Definitely worth
Yeah.
keeping a food diary. And I mean, as a rule of thumb, if you have a lot of diarrhea or a lot of loose stools, then avoiding fibre. Fibre's a big aggravator.
Yeah.
Even though we're all told we should be having fibre
Yeah.
a day, people with Crohn's and colitis often can't. So, reducing fibre can help.
Mm.
And a good multivitamin is always, reasonable. to
Oh,
have.
right, yeah.
Dr. Hayward's a big fan of probiotics.
Yeah.
Big fan.
Yeah,
There's
he
a lot
is,
of
yeah.
evidence now that probiotics help the gut.
Oh, right.
So a probiotic every day.
I've
is a
always
good thing.
avoided those.
No,
I
they-
thought
they
they were
can
supposed to be a
vary.
bit of a dodgy
I used to
thing
have the
try.
liquid ones until I found out from a friend who works in one of the labs that actually you're better to get the higher concentrate
you are.
tablet
Absolutely.
than you are.
I mean,
to
don't
get
buy
the
things like
liquid.
Actimel,
Yeah,
and
they've
because
got
that's just full of sugar
virtually
and rubbish.
nothing in
Yeah,
them
you need to
whatsoever.
get things like acidophilus.
Oh, right. So
from
we're not
the
talking
health
about the
food
little things
shop.
you get in the
No,
like,
no,
Yakult
a
and
decent
stuff like that.
probiotic. You can get them in a health food shop in a drink, or you can get a capsule.
Oh,
Yeah.
right. Okay. Well, that's something I didn't know either.
Yeah.
That's two things I've learned in one night.
Oh,
Mind you, I'm a bit
Heather's-
thick. So.
Heather's watching tonight. Evening, Heather.
Hi, Heather.
Hi, Heather. How's the baby?
She said it was stretching her last time we spoke.
That's what they do.
They do that, yeah. When they come out, they stretch you financially.
Yeah.
I would agree.
Yeah.
Okay. Another question. How do you deal with colds or flu when you are on immunosuppressant drugs?
Ooh.
Come
Get
on,
under the
Well, I've had a
duvet.
cold or flu.
Flu jab has
is
it's
always
gotta be a
good.
must.
Get your flu jab in. I
Every
always
year.
have mine late September, early October.
I'll be
Yeah.
honest, I'm not on any immunosuppressants at the moment, but I still had my flu jab this
Yeah,
year.
I do.
because
Yeah,
My immune system's still not great.
no.
But yeah, if you get a cold, it's the same as anyone. You've got to stay wrapped up, warm, drink fluid, and wait for it to
Yeah,
pass.
I mean, and if you're on immunosuppressants, you are slightly more predisposed to getting bugs, I suppose. Always stop it for whatever you're on for a week until
yeah.
you're better,
Yeah.
and then restart
Yeah.
it. In theory, most people don't get tons more infections than they used to get. I mean, there's always that possibility, but people don't have too many problems with infection. You might think that we did, but we don't have too many issues with that.
I'm sure
Um,
there's some weirdos out there like myself who actually have less colds
Yes,
when they're
exactly.
on immunosuppressants.
Yeah, I haven't had any for a long
Say
time
that.
actually. so-
No, I've had more since being
Yeah.
off of them than I ever did. when I
Yeah,
was on
so
them.
just
Yeah.
dose yourself up, paracetamol, no brufen,
No.
and stop your drug for a week. Let us know if you've got particularly bad and nasty flu.
And I think if you get a cough that lingers,
go and see your GP.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Get it checked out.
Okay, another question tonight. I've just been diagnosed. How do I explain to my family, friends, and colleagues what the disease is without embarrassing everyone talking about poo?
Well,
I guess it must be hard. I mean, I'm quite happy to talk about poo. So if you feel,
Yeah.
if you don't get embarrassed, please just talk to them as openly as you can. If you want any guidance, I would certainly go on the Crohn's and Colitis UK website.
I think there are people out there that are really
Struggle.
sensitive about
Yeah.
they don't want to hear it.
No. they
So
don't.
I think they're the sort of people you go down the lines of, it's an autoimmune disease.
Yeah.
It affects my gut,
Yeah.
but also my immune system.
Yeah, like, I mean,
is attacking
arthritis
itself, and
It's an autoimmune disease
yeah,
as well. So it's the
that's it.
same sort of thing as, you could say it's the same sort of thing
Yeah.
as arthritis. It's
funny,
just
isn't
affecting
it,
a
that
different part of your body.
Still such a taboo.
Yeah.
I mean, even with all the, everything that's written, everything that's all over the news, everywhere about like bowel cancer.
Yeah,
Yeah.
And if
so
you've
bowel
got
cancer is
bleeding
the
and things
same,
like
yeah.
that, people still don't want to sort of go to their GPs. It's so important, but I think that is slowly changing.
Yeah, it is.
There's some really good guides. There's a really good guide for employers on the Crohn's and
Yes,
colitis.
there is.
You were saying about, or he was saying about the employment as well.
I think there is a leaflet on there on how
That's
to
really good.
tell
There is.
family and friends as
Oh,
well.
yeah.
So,
Yeah.
so have a look
There
on the
is.
website, definitely.
Yeah.
Or the other good thing to do is to bring a member of the family along to appointments, because that way they can get used to it as well, and they
Yeah.
can get used to the disease. And
I mean, I've always done that anyway, because I've always found it helps to have a second pair of
Yes,
ears, because
definitely.
quite often you'll miss something,
Yes.
they'll pick it up,
Definitely.
And also, if you take a same gender, you don't have to have chaperones and things like that,
No.
because there's already one there.
Mm.
Yeah.
And actually, if you're at school or university, there's also stuff on the Crohn's and Colitis UK website, which is about for school children
Yes,
and for
there's lots-
teachers,
there's
for
lots on-
students,
and adolescents.
Yeah. So
definitely.
there's
Yeah.
all those kind of different areas you can look at.
Laura just commented saying, I've been on various immunosuppressants over the last year. I found I only got one cold over Christmas, and the only difference was it took a lot longer to shift. Otherwise,
Yeah.
I've been grand.
Yeah.
Yeah, my last cold took ages to go.
Mm.
Yeah. But I think it also depends on what you're doing. I mean,
Yes.
if you're in a job where you're mixing
That's
with
true.
kids, for example,
Yes.
particularly, or you're taking your kids to school and stuff like that. I used to pick up colds all the time when I was involved with kids or taking kids to school
Yeah.
and stuff, whereas
And
not,
I think
not
also,
quite
I
as
mean,
bad.
most people are very sort of stoical, aren't they? So you do see a lot
Yeah,
of people
yeah.
that come to clinic and they've got the most terrible chest infection or cold, and they just soldiered on,
Yeah.
rather
Yeah.
than actually thinking, I'm on an immunosuppressant. I
Yeah.
need to take it a bit more easy.
Yes.
I'm going to
Yeah.
take a day off work, and there is that whole thing of I'm not going to let this affect me.
That's
Whereas
right. Yeah.
Maybe you just be a bit more kind to yourself.
Yes.
This might be a good point to mention a few events that we've got.
Mm.
Oh, Laura says she's a district nurse.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Going to be around.
So
it a
she's
lot.
going to be around people. Sorry, Laura.
or district nursing, sorry. This might be a good opportunity to mention a few events that we've got coming up
Yes.
this year as a local
Two
school
biggies
group.
in particular. When I'm wearing my volunteer walk it t-shirt.
Yes.
You can actually sign up already. There's a pre-registration site where you can sign up for Walk It, which is on
Yeah.
July the 13th, Saturday, July the 13th. And the pre-registration, shove it right in front of the camera.
I'm not sure if you
I'm
can
not
see
sure if you
it
can see
there.
that. But if you have one of our newsletters, it's on the front.
You?
Yeah.
Oh yes, yeah, on the back of the latest newsletter. Look, it's Kathy.
That's never going to happen. It's never going to go. It's on every single.
It is. It is. Anyway, so
We're
Walk
proud
It.
of you.
Walk It Saturday the 13th of July. Pre-register. If you pre-register, you get 10% off. So you can register. I believe you can pre-register as a volunteer or as a walker. So
Yeah.
volunteers, you get orange t-shirts, and walkers, you get purple t-shirts with the
White.
same. I thought they were purple, aren't
sorry,
they?
yeah.
White
Yeah,
for
they're
kids.
purple.
Kids, sorry.
White for kids, that's
are
right.
white with blue on, and
That's
the
right,
adults
yeah.
are purple.
Older dogs
Yeah, yeah.
get their little.
And dogs
Yeah,
get a
yeah,
little
yeah,
bandana.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
I've
Yeah.
got one of those.
So do
Yeah.
sign up for that.
So
It's later this year, much later. We're the last one this year instead of the first one. So we'd like to
Hopefully
see
it'll
you
run
all
more
there.
smoothly.
Yes. And the other big thing we've got coming up is we're having a ball. It's the 40th anniversary of Crohn's and Colitis
saw
UK.
that. Yeah.
And we're having a ball in the Crown Plaza
Yeah.
on Saturday, the 12th of
12th of
October. So we'll be getting more details about that. We're
Yeah.
just sorting out things, finalising details for that, and then
Yeah.
we'll advertise
We're
that.
Save the date.
We're
We're
looking for
looking-
sponsorship. If anybody would want to sponsor
Yes.
any part of the ball,
And we're looking for
and
bands.
we're looking for a band.
We
so
are
if
looking
you
for a
are-
band, yeah.
Raffle.
raffle,
And
we're
prizes
looking
for the raffle,
Yeah,
yeah.
auction prizes.
And auction
So
prizes.
actually, we're looking for all sorts. So
Yeah,
spread the word.
yeah.
Tell
Get your
anyone you
companies
know.
involved.
Any
Any
companies.
contacts you have.
Great.
Yeah.
Yeah, so please let us know. I mean, you don't have to do it tonight on the thing if you don't want to. You can message us separately. You can email us, but it would be great to hear from you if you've got any contacts. That'd be absolutely brilliant.
Yeah.
But that's the two biggies. Well, there'll be other events like quizzes and stuff, but those are the two biggies. So
that
save
sounds
the
good.
dates: July the 13th and October the 12th.
Marvellous.
Yeah.
Look forward to it. Get
Yeah.
your glad rags out.
Yeah.
Yes.
Gotta find one that fits, but yeah.
Okay, another question. I think this might be one of our final questions tonight. I want to put on a charity event for East Cornwall and West Devon. Where do I start?
Oh.
Wow. Well, thank you, firstly. We appreciate that. I think the best thing is to probably contact us. We can try and get hold of banners, balloons, depending on what the event is, as to whether you need help or just literature, whatever. We can advertise on our website. So yeah, get in touch,
Yeah.
private message us, and we can talk to you about it there.
Yeah.
We love to go along and support people that are putting on events for us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's always really good, isn't it?
Yeah. And we've had a couple of things going on already this year. I mean, it was only a couple of weeks ago that we went along to Tavistock Young Farmers, didn't we?
We did.
And they've
yes.
been doing stuff all of last year.
Yeah.
They
Was that
asked us
Richard?
to come along. Richard wasn't in the group,
Okay.
but it was Sally. We saw a lady
Yeah.
called Sally, and I think the chairman was Reese. But they basically just got in contact with us. But it was through Sally,
okay.
no, not through Sally, through Richard indirectly, because two of his cousins were there, weren't
Yeah.
they? And they knew Richard, and they knew Sophie, who'd also put on the Mad Dog McRae thing last year.
Oh, okay.
So these young farmers put on these events last year, and one of the things they did was a dung run, which we thought was hysterical and so appropriate for us.
So
yeah,
funny.
very
They just got
appropriate.
loads of bags of manure and they put them on tractor trailers and just took them around and
brilliant.
sold them. So anyway, they raised £1,600 for us.
Yeah.
That's amazing. But we have, we have all sorts. We have people do coffee morning and raise a couple of £100 for a
Yeah.
coffee morning. It doesn't matter how
There's a
big
lot
or
that goes
small
on.
it is.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
People doing stuff for us.
Yeah,
I know
nice
we've already
raffle
had
at the hairdressers,
Hair
don't we?
Flare.
little
Hair
bit.
Flare in Yelton who raised some money for us
Yeah.
recently. Did a raffle before Christmas. I think they've got about 360 quid to give us. So, it's great when other people organise things for us because we don't have to do the hard
Yeah.
work,
No.
but we can still
No.
support and help
Yeah.
out. So that's really, really
Brilliant.
nice. Yeah.
I have a question that's just come in from Christine. After being in remission for a very long time, what is likely to have caused a flare up?
Oh, so miserable, that, isn't it?
God, there'd be so many.
Very difficult. It's very, very
Individual, isn't it?
disheartening, isn't it?
Yeah.
When you've been well for so long, it's impossible to say.
Anything. Could
Yeah.
be environment, could
Yeah.
be stress, could
Yeah,
be anything.
I mean,
couldn't it?
we see
Food.
quite a lot of people that have had food poisoning.
Yeah.
People that have taken ibuprofen for a couple of weeks for a bad back,
Yeah.
that often does it. A major bereavement or stress,
Yes,
that often
stress
does.
is my
Yeah.
biggest thing.
Infection of another sort often
Yeah.
does. And some people literally say, I've been well for 10 years and out of the blue, I just, and it's just
Yeah.
one of those really unfortunate things. Yeah.
I think that's part of the problem is that we don't really know what causes it.
No.
Yeah.
Not causes
It
a
is.
flare up or,
Yeah.
or
No.
disease
No,
generally.
you know
So
there are triggers,
yeah.
but sometimes people say it was completely out of the blue.
Yeah.
And it's like, must be
But some
very
people-
depressing when you've been well for a
Yes,
long, long
yeah.
time.
I think some people wouldn't know that because it was some time before I realised that ibuprofen was a problem.
Yeah, that's true.
That
There are
some people might
things
not
that-
realise
yeah.
that if they've got a bad back or whatever, bad shoulder or something, they
Yeah.
Yeah.
took ibuprofen
That's very,
for
it's
it
very common.
because
that,
it's
very
such a common thing for people
Yeah,
to take.
that's
you know.
right. And we see it all the time.
Yeah.
People have just hurt their back or hurt their
Yeah.
leg or even gone into hospital
Yeah.
and had some minor operation and been given a lot of non-steroidals post-op, and that is enough to.
I think I found out because I hurt my back or something, and but what I did was I emailed you on your helpline and said, well, the IBD nurses, and said, is it okay to take ibuprofen? And you came back and said, no, best not.
Yeah.
I think you said
4 responses going.
Yeah.
No,
Don't do it.
take it.
Don't do it. Is the gel all right?
Yes,
Or
it's
in
fine.
small doses,
Yeah,
or
fine.
just
Yeah, yeah.
generally?
No,
Okay.
gel's
So if
fine.
you're putting it
It's just
externally,
the
just on your
actual,
skin,
the
don't,
tablets themselves.
yeah,
don't
They
touch it
irritate the
inside.
bowel,
Yeah.
don't they?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So that's, I mean, it was a long time for me having the disease before I knew that was the case. Though
Yeah.
it just
Yeah.
when it came to it, I just thought, oh, I'll ask just in case. You know, and I was so glad I'd asked.
Yeah,
When you came up with,
absolutely.
no.
Don't do that. Yeah,
So that was really good.
Oh, I
No.
hope you get it under control soon.
Yes.
Christy.
Yeah.
And get
Give
in-
us a ring.
Yeah,
It's
get
good
in
to have
touch
Give
a
with
Kathy a ring.
dietitian.
Don't leave it
What's
too
your
long.
number, Kathy?
01. We normally have it across the.
I know, but we
not- we
can't do
can't.
that.
It's a
on
new-
that,
No.
no.
01752 439 224.
Do you know the email?
Oh
no,
my God.
nobody
No,
knows the
that's-
email.
no, it's-
No, it's
Actually,
not
it's on the
easy.
back of there.
Yeah, it is actually.
if anybody wants the email, just get in contact with us.
Yeah,
I'll
we'll
find
put it
on
up
one of
again.
our
All
shows.
here,
How
look.
handy.
It's all on the back of our newsletter.
Yeah.
If you're a member, you'll get our newsletter
No,
anyway.
they don't need to see that. Just I can read out the email. Right, it is Papa Lima Hotel. Get me.
Yeah.
Hyphen T. What's that? Tango. R. What's
Romeo.
R? Romeo.
Romeo.
Dot IBD. Hyphen advice at nhs.net. So that's PLH hyphen TR dot IBD hyphen advice at
I
nhs.net.
don't understand why you can't just remember that, Kathy.
I don't understand why you
Nightmare.
can't make it a bit easier.
Yes, I did. You know, when we first set it up, I went to IT and said, I just want something really simple like IBD at Derriford.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Here we are. Here's this 28 letter
Yeah.
email address.
Well, that's.
So sorry about that. Wasn't my fault.
Well, that's our half hour.
Yeah,
Oh,
I think
yeah.
that's time.
Yeah.
It's gone
Thank
quickly.
you,
That has gone
everybody.
quickly. Yes, it's been lovely having a chat with everybody.
Yes. Happy New Year to everyone.
Happy New Year. Happy dry January.
Yeah. Good luck to all of you who are doing it.
You've only got a week left.
Yeah.
And don't forget those 2 dates: 13th of July and the 12th of
12th of
October. See you next time.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.